Okay, hey everyone, welcome to the rules explanation of the 2026 edition of FinMaster. I'm going to try and go through this quite quickly, so here we go. When you open the box, you've got a nice simple rule book, which we'll get back to, a short version of the rules. This is the reminder, don't try and get going with this, it won't help you. This is the Jargon Buster, we'll get back to that later. We've got the game board, okay. The first thing that you do is you take out the money tray out of the box. You'll see that it already comes sorted, and the money tray just goes anywhere next to your board where it's accessible to everyone. Okay, we've got some dice, we've got a timer, and then the rest of the setup is really just your asset cards are already sorted by asset class. So you look at the icon here, you take everything of that icon, which will be together, and you put it on the right spot. It's marked on the board. Okay, then you'll do the next asset class, and we'll fast forward through this. We've got stocks, we've got properties, we've got retirement, and we've got savings. All right, so, and then you've got your power cards. For now, you can just put it all on the power card spot. And then you've got reminder cards. So now I'm going to show you how to hand out to all of your different players. Each player gets a purple reminder card. So you'll hand that to each player. Each person gets 2 power cards. So you can shuffle the power cards, however, they're already shuffled for you. So the first time you don't need to shuffle them. Each person gets 2 of those. And then we have to set up our starting assets, okay? So basically how that works is you take the number of players. So let's say you're 3 players. Times 2 plus 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And you'll unpack 8 of these gray starter assets, because that's what we're going to choose from when we start the game. Okay, and then the last thing we do, depending on the number of players in the rulebook it's indicated, you hand out event cards. So if it's 2 to 3 players, you get 6 event cards. If it's 4 to 6 players, you get 4 event cards. Okay, so you'll hand out some event cards to each person. And that is it for the setup. Cool. Let's get into how the turns work. All right, or the start of the game and then how the turns work. Okay, so before we start our normal turns, we are going to buy our starting assets. So how that's going to work is you first determine the first player. Usually that's the person who made investment in real life most recently. So if you're the person that most recently invested in real life, you'll be the first player. And how it's going to work is each person is going to buy 2 starter assets. What's important on the assets is you've got a buy price, a sell price, and a return price, as well as the asset class. Okay, keep that in mind. So the person who most recently invested will get to choose from the gray assets first. And then we keep going clockwise until the last person has bought their first asset. And then that person gets to go first, and we go backwards so that everybody has 2 assets. Okay, it's called snake drafting. Don't worry about it, but that's how it goes. Okay, there should be 2 assets left over of these starter assets once everybody has chosen, so then you can get rid of them. And then everybody can have a look at the event cards that they have in their hands. And the last thing we do before we start playing our turns is each person's going to choose 1 event card to put away for the end of the game. We call this the Armageddon phase, and it's essentially the last little step before the game is completely done. So you'll choose which event card you leave for the end and place it under the board in front of you, or in some order so that everybody can remember which card was which person's or whose. Right, okay. And that's it for the setup. Now we are ready to get going with our turns. I'm just going to keep going. All right, so let me fill my cards. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the explanation of how the turns work. Importantly, turns are set out on your purple reminder card, and each turn has 3 steps. The first step is playing an event card and essentially controlling the market. The second step is buying or selling assets, and the third step is earning an income. So let me get into them. Step 1, playing an event card. So from the cards in your hand, you're going to choose which event card you want to play when it's your turn. Okay. Importantly, on the event cards, when you play a certain card, let me choose a different one. When you play a certain card, it is a market world event that happens, right? So for example, this one is urban expansion projects, and it shows you which asset classes will increase in value and which will decrease in value when you play this event, and it affects everyone in the game. So in your turn, you're going to choose your event card. Before you place it down on the table and reveal it though, there's a little word in yellow that if you can explain that so that someone else can guess it, you unlock a benefit for both yourself and the person who guesses it right. Okay, so I've chosen my card, but before I place it, I go turn the timer around and I try and explain the word liquidity to all of you. So basically, it's how easy you can turn an asset into cash so that you can use that cash. Okay, yeah, somebody guesses it, liquidity. Okay, now I'll place my card down. If someone guessed it right, they will actually get a power card, and I get to use the yellow dice. Normally, if someone didn't get it right, I'll only get to use the 2 purple dice. Okay, but now because someone got it right, I will roll my 2 purple dice, and I get to assign a dice to the positive and to the negative side, and it can go either way. It's my choice. But then because somebody guessed my word correctly, I get the 3rd yellow dice, and I can add that to either the positive or the negative side of the card. All right, now that I've assigned it, what this means is this dice now tells us by how much our assets are going to go up and down. So we take the total of the dice, so this is 3 in this case, we multiply by 10, so that's 30. And then each asset that is indicated on the positive side will actually gain 30 bucks. So any player who has, in this case, a property asset or a business asset will get 30 bucks, and any player who has a savings asset will lose 30 bucks. So you gain, you lose, everybody takes cash, they pay cash based on the assets that you own. So just again, importantly, you look at the symbol on your asset. So you'll see there's a little stock symbol here. Let's use one that's actually here. The property symbol, and you look at the symbol that's indicated on the event card to know whether you receive or pay money. If your assets don't appear there, you're unaffected. Okay, so that's the first step of your turn. The second step of your turn is where you are now allowed to buy assets. And at this stage, you can buy any of the assets that's available on the board that you can see at the top of the stacks. You may also sell your assets back to the bank at the sell price on the asset. Okay, so if you own one, you want to sell it back to the bank, you get this price. And then if you and another player can agree on some form of purchase or barter agreement, then that's up to you to do that as well in the second phase of your turn. Then the last phase of your turn is the income phase, and this is where everybody in the game actually earns 150 bucks. So you will simply hand out 150 bucks to each person. So at the start, we also hand out our starting cash to everybody in the game. Essentially, you'll hand out 1,400 Fintrs notes, okay, 14 of these. You'll hand out 3 50s, so the yellow ones, and 5 10s to each player so that they have a total of 1,600 Fintrs in their hand. And that's what they'll use to buy their starting assets and buy the assets when we start playing a game as well. Okay, so that's your turn. You have 3 steps. You play your event card, you buy or sell assets, you earn your income, and then it's the next player's turn. We keep playing our turns or taking our turns until you are out of event cards. So until all players have played all of the event cards in their hand, then that's the end of the normal turns. And all that's left is the Armageddon phase. During the Armageddon phase, remember that card that we placed under the board and we kept for last? What we'll do at this stage is we're going to play those. But instead of explaining the word and anything like that, you just play it. Don't use the yellow dice. You roll the purple dice and assign it. People take and pay their money, and nobody earns any cash, nobody buys assets. It's really just one event after the other, basically testing your asset portfolio and seeing if you'll survive Armageddon. Okay, one important rule though, if you end up rolling a double on your dice, instead of splitting them up between the positive and the negative side, you actually add them together and they apply to both positive and negative sides. So instead of this being 5-5 or 50-50, you add them together and it'll be 10-10 or 100-100 that you earn. Okay, the same thing with the yellow dice. If that's also a 5, it's a triple. If it's not the same as the others, you actually then just add it to either side and you do the math. No, use with rekening. Okay, cool. I think that's it. Enjoy FinMaster.